In the beginning, there was nothing. Just an engineer crash landed on this planet. But, in time, as the days rose, he began to make progress. He built. He collected the ores around him. He manufactured them into small parts and other components. He developed his own wood processing something. I don't know how to do intros, but this is the story how I went from nothing to something. Hello, guys. Thank you for watching my intro, and welcome to my Factorio Rampant Pyanodon Season 1 Automation Science Pack Time-Lapse Map Base Tour. Unfortunately, because I didn't think to do this base tour until way after I had finished this portion of the base, so I'm way beyond it. But unfortunately, because I forgot to do it then, or I didn't think to do it then, we're going to have to do it now with the time lapse. But rest assured, Season 2 and every season past that will have base tours with their own, or within the map. And we could also use the timeline map as well. Other than that, there are just three things I want to go over in this video. I want to give a base tour of the final point of the base at the end of the season, a base tour through time, which I just think it's fun, and then I want to point out a couple of highlights or some cool things that I think is really illuminated by a time-lapse map. But let's get right to it. So, where else to begin other than the crash site? This is where everything started, and where I crashed, and I've decided to go ahead and decorate my crash site so that it remains a memorial for all of time. My base is powered by raw coal, which comes from this small raw coal patch, which is looking really thin. It's looking very thin because I have rampant resources on, which means all ores are infinite, but the yield slowly goes down to 20%, so it's looking a little thin. And you're thinking, oh, how could this power an entire base? Just six steam engines, right? I think at this point, most of the base is powered by burnable fuels. So it's powered by the rock coal we collect here and excess burnables that come from the rest of the system. This includes kerogen and coal dust. So kerogen comes from the stone. It's like 50% stone, 50% kerogen. It's a byproduct, so that gets shipped out. And then we're getting coal dust from our ash recycling, which we'll show off more in the future. But this is the first part of our base. We have raw coal, right? And then, basically all the raw coal and the other burnable fuels follow. This is the start of our bus. It goes up. And the raw coal produces ash, so we have to bring that up as well. The first stop that the burnable fuel makes is over here at iron ore. Same deal, burnable fuel comes in, ash comes out, but we also get iron ore. Up here, we have aluminum ore. These are done by the aluminum miners, or fluid miners here, which require coal gas, right? So we have a portion of our raw coal breaking off here and being turned from raw coal to coke, and it produces byproducts such as tar and coal gas. The tar gets turned back into coal gas because the aluminum miners require coal gas as their fluid to mine. So similar to the iron ore, the aluminum takes burnable fuels, and it also takes a liquid, or in this case it's a gas, the coal gas, and it turns it into aluminum ore. And then it also spits out ash. Yep, it spits out ash as well. And then we can go from the aluminum, and then we follow the spaghetti chain all the way up over here. So this is where we do copper. Same deal, burnable fuels in, ash out, copper out. Great. Next, more spaghetti up here. We have stone and basic stone derivatives. So same deal, except we have stone. We have burnable fuels in, but we also have kerogen, again, which is a burnable fuel, and stone coming out. And then also I've attached my stone bricks here and then added a couple items. We're using stone brick, we're making stone gravel here, which is actually the background here. That's the design I'm using here. So we use stone, we make the stone gravel here. We also make walls here and collect stone bricks. And then on to the next one. We can go ahead and follow our line over here, the next stop we are at is wood processing. And wood processing was the biggest build I had, or the first big build I had for the PyMod series. And I'm very excited for more big builds like this in the future. But it has a couple inputs, stone, ash, rock, coal, and then the main output is wood. It also has an iron output because I turned iron oxide, which is one of the byproducts from these destructive distillation columns, as an output too. But now I feel like I could have just outputted the iron oxide, but it's fine. But here is how we make wood from just stone and ash and rock coal. So it's very useful. This is part of my complete automation. I know I'm surrounded by trees, but it can't be completely automated. I can't. I guess I could cut down trees forever and fill up a chest. Actually, I can't. No, I can't do that forever, which is why it's automated. But anyways, on to the next one. Oh, forgot to mention before we move on is that we do small wood. We do the wood tiles here, and I love the wood tiling. It was my favorite tiling the moment it came out. But past that, we have here the main smelting area. We have smelting lines for different ores. So we have, this is tier 0, right? So this is it's just basically ore in, plate out is what we have so far. It's copper plate. We have aluminum, iron. This is steel. It goes from iron to steel. Then we have some byproducts, or some extra ones that we aren't mining yet, or we're not mining zinc yet, but here's where zinc comes. This comes from the ash recycling, and here's lead, which I will jump over to right now. So the lead is actually all the way over here. This is our lead outpost. It takes acetylene as its fuel. These are, again, the fluid miners. It takes acetylene, which takes an input of, it takes raw coal so that we can make coal gas and tar, and some mixing of lime and other products here. But basically, this makes acetylene to make lead, and lead's very important because it's how we make magazines. It's the only way to automate magazines at this point in the game. So I've done that here, and I've automated magazines, and I've built a nice funny turret bus to protect this line as it goes all the way back to the base. And then we can explain the fronts in a second. But that is lead. And then over here is, we can go up here too, because this is also important. This is our quartz mine. It mines quartz using electricity. That's all. But the quartz comes down here, and this is my glassworks. So glassworks take liquid fuel. You can use any liquid fuel. So here we're using both tar and coal gas to make molten glass, and then we turn that into glass, and then we have a whole suite of glass products to make in the future past that below here. But otherwise, this will bring me to my first, or I guess another byproduct area, right? So here's where we take iron plates and copper plates and we turn them into small parts, which get taken up and brought to Automation Science Pack over here. But before we go there, let's talk about the ash recycling. So as you can see, a lot of the materials in Pi 1 at the burner stage make ash. This includes assemblers like these. These are all burner assemblers that take burnable material and output ash. And so we need to do something with all the ash. And so it's a byproduct. We can't just keep putting it in chests and shooting it, because then that really wouldn't be automating. I can't do that forever, and I have to do that myself. But basically, the ash comes in here to these solid separators, and then it splits off the ash into coal dust, soot, and iron oxide. Iron oxide can be turned into iron, and the soot gets put over here into this solid separator and separates that into, I think, 5 or 6 different ores. It's iron ore, copper ore, lead ore, zinc ore, and aluminum ore. And those they all come out, they go down this line. It's a sushi belt line that I have, and it gets sorted into the different mining groups here. And that brings us, last but not least, to our Automation Science Pack. So the automation is done here. It takes in, iron, stone bricks, small parts, and this native flora, which, if we followed all the way back, and I forgot to mention, is collected here at this native flora collector. But yep, we go up here, and this is where the Pi Science Pack 1 is automated. So that is the automation of Pi Science Pack 1, and it goes down in here and into the labs where we research stuff. And then, obviously, we got to show off our defense fronts. We have here the Northern Gate Mark II, which is just a huge turret wall with some magazines backed up. And on the we have the Eastern Gate here. This is what it used to be, or this is what it is. And we also have, the turret bus that protects our magazines so that it's fully automated. Okay, and now you might be wondering, like, oh, why did this take 35 hours? And I could show you exactly how it took 35 hours. In fact, we got this part of automation science done very, very early on. As you can see here, it was done at around the 9-hour mark, actually. And I think we had stuff in labs by 9 hours, 10 hours. So it's the question is, what took so long? How come it took so long to automate? This is because in order to make I think it's up here next, wood production. Yep, that's what I worked on next. I needed to automate wood. But in order to finish automating wood, I needed glass. In order to get glass, I needed quartz. And the quartz was up here in this region, as you can see, right? Oh, I see quartz. But I need to defend the quartz. And how do I defend the quartz? Well, I need to automate magazines. I need to automate my defense. This is my old Northern Gate, by the way. And the only way to do that is by getting lead. And there was no lead near me, and the only lead was out over here. Over here. And that took a while to get going because, this is a huge distance. But for some time, I had lead being here, made here, and then I actually made these little carports where I manually drove my coal from one location to the other. Actually, I think if I go a little bit forward, you can see that I built a little car dock. So this would fill up with raw coal, and I would drive it through these paths I made in the woods and dump it out here. And it would power this a little bit, and I get some magazines, and I had this whole plan where I'd have a bunch of different cars, and one would collect ash and blah, 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 and I'd drive them back and forth. But what I didn't know is that these emptied so quickly. So this was not a good solution. As you can see here, I already began work on the turret bus because I gave up on driving stuff back and forth. But anyways, this took a long time, and yeah, it's just several hours. I finally got the lead, I got the magazines going, and with the magazines, I was finally able to expand up here, build a wall, and protect this tiny, tiny quartz area. And once I had that, I was able to finish my nursery here, as you can see here. Oh, the botanical nurseries were the last pieces, and they were right there. And once I had completed that, I called it completely automated. So that is the base tour through time. Lastly, I just wanted to show you some of the fun parts. I love playing around with the time-lapse map, but I like seeing this, especially spaghetti part of the map at the beginning was like very, very straight and thin, and over time you can see I just added and added and added to it, and it became bigger and bigger. Oh, look at that. Here as well, this is another snapshot of the same area. It started out very simple, and then I just slowly added more and more to it. I think you could say the same about this area too, except less so. Yeah, it's pretty clean, very clean, and then it started becoming a little messy. The other thing I like pointing out is my dirt path mod. It makes paths in the ground when you run over. So as you can see in the beginning here, I start running over this area a lot, and so the ground starts becoming like lighter and lighter as I make that permanent dirt path there. And I think you could see in other areas too. I think this part I ran around a lot, and yep, you could see the paths made by the car right in the middle here over time, and I always think that's really cool. We can also see the evolution of my northern gate. At first it was just walls, and then like a single turret, then 5, and then they were attacking a bunch, and I upgraded them to walls, and then I upgraded the walls over here. Same here, let's look at eastern gate over time. At the beginning, just walls, and then the turrets. And then I think that was it until they turned into walls, and then I replaced it like that. But those were some of my cool things. Also, there's this part. Let's see why this is so... Oh yeah, okay, yep. That gash was made very early on when I was running up and down collecting the iron here. But yeah, it's there forever now. The other thing you can see is the trees slowly starting to die. So if you look at the crash site, and we go back here, over time you see they're nice luscious trees, but basically around the time I get power or next to the rock hole, you can start to see that the trees are giving into the pollution, so you can see it spread. Oh, and even down here, you can see that as well. I wonder if you could see it over here by the lead outpost. No, not really. You can't really see it there yet. But over time, I mean, all this will start to die, and that's kind of sad. It's probably why I decorate so much, so that it can remain looking good. But I love seeing the change over time, right? Like the dirt paths and the trees slowly dying. I mean, that's very sad, but it's very cool that you can see the change. And those were some of the cool things that I wanted to point out. Oh, one last thing, actually. You could also see the iron ore slowly get thinner. Iron ore and rock coal. If you just like focus on this line right over here, you can see as we go through time, the patches get thinner and thinner. Same with the rock coal. We'll do it in reverse, where you could see they used to be much thicker. Look at that. And then it gets very thin as we go through time. But yeah, this has been my base tour. I want to thank again my patrons. They don't come in until season 2, but my patrons, John Boy and Ema, their immortalizations, again, they aren't shown off in this time lapse because they haven't happened yet. But thank you guys for being my patrons. And for everyone else, I have the Google Drive. This time lapse will be shared with you. It's going to be in the description. It'll be a download to my Google Drive where you can open it and play around with it as much as you'd like. See you guys in season 2.